Hey, what it do, baby? Welcome to Vegeta Saiyan Army. Thank you guys for liking, watching, and subscribing. Today, I'm going to talk about advanced deck building, and I use the word advanced in my title. It's not going to help all of you. To some of you, it may not be advanced, but if it helps one of you, I will be happy. I hope it does. So, what I mean by deck building is you have a leader that you want to play, but you don't know if you want to do monocolor, you want to do red, green, yellow, blue, black, multicolor, or you just have different chains that and you don't know which one to pick, right? You want to pick the most value one. You're gonna pick the one that's gonna win you the most games and have the best synergy with your leader. And what better way to teach you than by showing you exactly what I did, right? So, for example, I'm playing the starter deck Vegeta right now, um, and I have a couple of versions that I could have done, like yellow red, blue red, that I chose not to do, and I'm going to show you exactly how I went on to do it. So the first thing I do is the most important thing is to test with other people. But before I test against other people in the Discord or in locals or on OnTap, is I like to play just with myself, with nobody in front of me, right? Just to measure a couple of basic things, right? Because once you test with somebody else, it can get chaotic. Your RNG is going to be a lot higher. There's going to be a lot of different probabilities, a lot of different things that can like put a snare on your game plan and give you like a skewed results, right? You want to have just a basic control where you can have all your probabilities set at zero or just regular games, right? So for example, with Vegeta, I just built a deck, played against myself, and I measured the value of the deck in a way that was relevant for a red leader, right? So the two candidates that ended up coming in on top is the red green that was playing the Piccolo Junior Eradicator of Peace and the multicolor red green stuff, and the mono red version, the Chain Attack Fasha, Chain Attack Borgos, and Chain Attack Bardock, stuff like that. And the yellow green or the yellow red, whatever, all that stuff didn't even make it to the phase of testing where I was taking it against other people on tap, right? So the way I play by myself and measure the value of a deck is I go to turn one, right? And on turn one, I'm always on the draw because since you're not playing against anybody, you do want to have that swing turn one, and you want to keep it consistent just to measure it out. So you have 6 cards in hand, 7 when you draw a card, 6 when you draw. I'm sorry, 6 when you charge it, and then you swing with leader and draw one, so that's 7, right? So on this turn, what you can see here is I've done 1 potential damage, and in my build, I have a multicolor turn 1 because I have to. For the 2-drop Piccolo. Now your deck's gonna be different. Maybe you're a yellow deck, maybe you're a blue deck, whatever. This is just how mine is personally. So 7 cards in hand, 1 potential damage. The average 0-5k combo power is immeasurable. Ignore that. That's something I measured myself. I looked at 10 games and I looked at the average of my hands. I usually had like 3 dead cards in hand turn 1, which is really bad. But I can't show you that here because it's impossible for me to prove what I saw in my hand. You do that yourself. So I just put the ratio of my entire deck. It was 24 out of 50 cards were 0-5k, which is really bad, by the way. It was what? It was 4 unisons, 2 of the backup unisons. Uh, the negates were like I had like 3 token negates, like 3 of the Vegeta imposing ones, 4 2-drop Piccolos, 3 assimilates, like 6 swap red greens, the secret rare. So it's like 23 off the top of my head. Um, so yeah, so just remember to count all those. Now going into turn 2, I had 7 cards in hand, so I draw for turn. That makes it 8. I play the 2-drop unison. That makes it 7. Um, I take 3 life. That makes it 10. No. I have 7. I draw for turn. That's 8. I charge. That's 7. I play the Piccolo. That's 6. I take 3 life for the Awakening skill. I go to 9. I untap 2. Now that I have 9, I drop 2 cards because I'm gonna play the 2-drop Piccolo and the 3-drop Piccolo. So now I'm 7. I swing with leader. I draw a card, but I combo the Nappa. I stay at 7, right? I draw 1 for Unison, draw 2 for the Alliance. That's 10 total, right? Now, again, in your internal testing, you want to see how often this turn is going to look the way that it's looking now, right? That's very important to look at consistency. I just did it quickly just to show you guys what I'm doing. Now, 1 damage for the leader, 2 damages for the unison, 2 damages for the new ruler, and then 3 for the 2-drop because he burns 1 and he's double strike. So that's 8 potential, right? My hand doesn't look great. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of my 10 cards in hand are going to be not free to combo. That's really bad. Again, ignore that, right? You're actually gonna do it differently. So cards in hand. Now the quantity of my hand is not bad, but the quality is bad. The potential damage dealt is 8, and I like it. I like the red green. This is one of the reasons why the red yellow didn't make it. Is because the cards in hand were really low. But there's other things to measure, right? It's not just how many damage can you deal. It's not just how many cards in hand, right? There's so many other things, and we'll go into that, but we're just going into the basics for now, right? Now, let's go into the mono red. 6 cards in hand. You draw for turn at 7. You charge one at 6. You play the Borgos, you recycle, it's still 6. You swing with leader, now it's 7. So it's 1 potential damage dealt, and then everything's the same. Now I have a card on board. Board size is important, so we'll stick with that. So it's 7. It's pretty much the same as the red-green version, only that I have board presence now. And a card in board is a card in hand if the combo is free. Remember that. So my combo is a lot better. Also, look at my hand. Well, a lot better. Again, it's a screen cap on untap, so it's unreliable. I set that up myself. You know, it's not like RNG. That's why I didn't set up, like, when I went here to the average 0.5k combo power, I didn't even put the statistic because I'm just showing you the example. You guys have to do that yourselves. Play 10 games, see what's the average of comboable cards in my hand for free that I can use, and then take an average, right? So out of the 10 times that I did it, 5 out of 7 cards were 0.5k combo, right? But however, in the entire deck, I had 39 out of 50 that were 0.5k combo. That's way better than red green, and I love that. Another thing to note is that the super combo is the Raditz, so he can bottom deck cards that I don't want to combo and make me draw 2. That's a lot better than the Nappa in that regard. So again, so we had what was the 7 cards in hand? So we draw for turn, that's 8, back to 7, play the Piccolo, blah blah blah. Now, again, as you can see here, we have 10 cards in hand, and I think it's the same amount of damage. But look at my combo power. Like, my combo power is so much better now. That's something that we do have to pay attention to. One of the things that I did, one of the weaknesses that I saw is that, like, the turn 1 was, I think the game is very mid-range right now, and I don't want to give people a lot of room. So I tried something else. I tried playing the, let me see. So yeah, the same cards in hand, pretty much the same potential damage dealt. So I tried the Scion Unison, right? I played the Scion turn 1. I summon 2 skillless cards, I swing with them, and I swing with leader. That leaves me at 4 potential damage turn 1. 1 less card in hand because the Scion doesn't replace himself. But I'll take that. A bigger board. Now, these 1-drops, if they don't swing at them, they don't have immediate bond 3 on the next turn when I play my 1-drops. If they don't swing at my leader, I found this out whiffing with my 2-drop unison. If I whiff with a 2-drop unison, I can play a turn 3, and now those swings that were happening turn 2, I mean, I'll soak those because I didn't go down to 5 life. So I'll take that 7th life and 8th life and 6th life. I don't care. Like, but again, it's very specific to mono red. But again, yeah. So cards in hand is 6, 4 potential damage dealt. Average 0.5k combo power is a lot higher, right? So one of the things to remember is that it's ridiculous to compare red-green to mono-red just off of the attacks per turn, just off of hand and quality of hand, because there's so many more things going on, right? So always keep in mind that there's other statistics that you're not thinking about. For example, protection. Maybe some cards have deflect or barrier. That's going to be a lot harder for them to remove. You know, if two different decks have the same stats, but one of them has deflect and barrier, then that one's a lot better, right? Even if it can do a little less swings, maybe if it can do a little less drawing or whatever, it's going to be more consistent. The setup, do I need a lot of cards for the setup? Like the red green needed a bit of setup, right? It needed something free on the board for Alliance, right? The matchup, what are your bad matchups, right? If you're playing a mono yellow deck and you want to go blue yellow, is that gonna make your spread bad? Um, are you only good against blue decks, right? Would going multicolor give you a good blue matchup, right? Consistency. How often are you doing this? How often are you seeing the 2-drop Piccolo? How often are you seeing your yellow blue Bojack? Shit like that is important to measure up. Even if they have the same stats, like even if one deck like does more attacks or draws more, how often are you able to do it when you test the deck? Risk and reward. Now, the red green version has a lot of reward because I can swing with a 2-drop, draw 2 cards every turn, and like deal damage and go for double strike. That's really cool. But it's a lot more risky because if that 2-drop gets destroyed, my turn is gone. Whereas with a mono red, I'm just playing a 1-drop that draws me a card. If you want to get rid of it, get rid of it. But at worst, it's a 1-drop that drew me a card. At best, I'll swing with it. It's a 15k. Again, spread. How many decks that I'm playing against are good against me? How many bad matchups, how many good matchups do I have? Always test against your bad matchups as well as your good matchups equally on both decks so that you know. And that's why I test internally. I test, I hit the punching bag before I go sparring. I test it in the lab before I take it to the field. Um, Reducing the spread problem, the matchup problem, before you even test it against people helps because it keeps you on a controlled environment that gives you the same consistent results so you can see what's wrong with the deck. Meta relevance. If you're building a mill deck and the best deck in the game is like Vegex, maybe you should like build something else, is every relevant meta deck going to be a problem against one of the things that you're testing? That's something to keep in mind. Synergy with the leader, synergy with the deck. Always try to find if you're looking at two colors for your deck, right? Always try to use the one that gives the most synergy, that complements the strength of your leader, the strength of your deck, the strength of what you're trying to do. Um, Another thing, if you're building a blue deck, you're not gonna set up the little chart of stats that I did the same way I did. Like maybe you don't wanna maybe you're not deciding between two colors. Maybe you're deciding between two unisons, right? Now, for example, the Raditz is a blocker that swings twice and draws one every turn, you know, and he has I think the -1 has removal that untaps an energy, right? So look at other stuff. Look at the keywords. For example, blocker, swings, power level 19k, right? Blocking with a 19k is better than a 15k because it means you have to drop a card if you want to do damage to it. Black decks, um, even though your hand is the same as another deck, uh, that may not mean that you're the same because if your opponent is swinging with 30ks and you're swinging with 15ks, then he's in an advantage. It takes what? I think it takes like 3 cards out of your opponent's hand if they want to combo over a 25k because they're 15, 20k, 25, 30. If you're swinging them with 30ks, if your deck can play 30ks, which black can, you're going to take 4 cards out of your opponent's hand every swing. That's why Dark Broly was so good, because he didn't care about his hand like that. Like, he'll swing through a topo, because he's swinging with 30ks, right? If you're playing with a green deck that's hand control, Adonic Warrior Angela is in a lot of ways a +2 for you. So you're not going to be counting how many cards are in your hand when comparing your green decks. Maybe you're going to be comparing the amount of cards in your opponent's hand. How fast are you ripping their hand, right? Adonic Warrior Angela was one of the best hand control cards back in the day, and it still is really good because it's 15k crit, and remember, critical is an important keyword, and it makes your opponent drop a card. So it's like a Ribrianne, interestingly enough, back in the day. Also, if you're playing yellow, look at this perfect example. The 7-drop Gotenks going all out. This guy's dual tag and double strike, and a form of like pseudo removal. So how come this guy isn't played in Gotenks as much, right? How come How come people are playing Ritter's Warcry in that deck? How come people are playing like Ferocious Roar Bergamo so much? Uh, is it because those cards are being played from the combo area? Is it because they rest energy? Is it because they draw you a card? Whatever the reason is, think about it when you're playing those decks, when you're building those decks, when you're building yellow, because there's a reason why people measure value the way they do, and you have to find that whatever value is in your deck, and you have to hold it like at the highest possible standard, so that when you build your deck, you're complementing that strength. For example, in red for me, attacking. Red is a lot of attacking, but I want to keep a high enough hand size. And like hand quantity is great, but you also want to have hand quality. Like you have 12 cards in hand, but if you can only combo six of them away, you really have six cards in hand, right? So you want to have a lot of cards in hand as much as you can. Is there anything I forgot about? This was like a basic breakdown of how I was able to look at my red deck I was recently I'm still recently just testing with. Just trying to help you guys see that's some of the things that I looked at. Again, I put expert on the title, but this might be basic for some of you. I hope it helps some of you, maybe beginner, mid-level. Is there anything that I missed? Is there anything that you do that you could help out with? Anything you could comment below? Let us know if there's something that you do when you test that's different. Everyone thinks differently. Everyone tests differently. Um, right, taking notes is important when testing a deck. To remember the numbers, to remember what you're doing. I hate math, but when it comes to Dragon Ball Super, I kind of like it because when I'm building a deck, I am very addicted to like finding out. Oh, I wonder which version is better. I wonder what is statistically better. So this is just something I do before I test against friends, against people that are random. I like to play by myself and see how good it is, see if it's worth taking out there. So let me know what you guys think, and like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.